and welcome back to Speak Freely. Here where we celebrate the freedom of speech, and today I wanted to talk about the horrible slandering and attack by the mainstream media on Dr. Jordan Peterson and Mikhaila, which is Dr. Jordan Peterson's daughter. I will put a link down below so you can please, for the love of all things good, go watch the full interview yourself. So if I'm getting anything wrong, you watch the interview yourself, or what she said out of her own words, so it's corrected, but I was trying my best. Okay, if you don't know who Dr. Jordan Peterson is, and you've been living under a rock, Dr. Jordan Peterson is probably one of the most famous professors at the moment, or in our lifetime anyway. He became famous because he stood his ground and spoke against the C-19 bill that was enacted in Canada that basically tells people they have to say someone's preferred pronouns. It was a very general law put into place under the hate speech or something like that, or discrimination laws in Canada, that basically said that you can be jailed or fined by mispronouncing or not saying someone's preferred pronouns, basically. And he stood against it, saying that it was against freedom of speech, that yes, we have had in our history things that we cannot say, but we've never had in our Western history anyway of telling people stuff they have to say. And again, the rule was very general. It wasn't like, you know, if you're constantly harassing someone, mispronouncing them, or if you're just a waitress and you see someone who looks like a male and you say male and they happen to go by female, and also all the other pronouns that's not even in our English language, like Z and Zay and Zer and all those other things. But anyway, that's how he got his initial notoriety. I cannot talk today. But he also, after that, surpassed that and kind of became famous for being the role model to many people who just didn't have good role models in their life. He has a large young male audience, but his audience do just expand genders and race and nationalities and cultures and countries. And his basic message to a lot of people is just to be self-responsible, be accountable, be self-sufficient, and be self-reliant. Life isn't fair. That is just the reality of life, and you have to develop the tools to get over that and create the life that you want. But for some reason, the mainstream media like to attack him as if he's saying the most horrible thing. They accuse him of radicalizing people when he's actually pulled young men back from being radicalized. So anyway, that's kind of the brief history of how Dr. Jordan Peterson got his fame. It's more to that, it's more nuanced. But recently, in the last year or so, he got really sick. I'm going to be really careful. I'm not going to name medications or illnesses because I don't want to get them wrong. But his wife got really sick with a really rare cancer. And under all that stress of taking care of his ailing wife, his daughter is also really sick. And his health is failing, and all the pressure from just society. You have hundreds, if not millions of people, or thousands of people, you know, clawing at you for help and inspiration, but you also have mainstream media constantly attacking you, and constantly like vultures and sharks in the water trying to rip you down and tear you apart, simply because you stood up for the freedom of speech, and simply because you're telling young men to be self-responsible and be accountable and self-reliant. I don't really know why they decided that he was the enemy of the people, but that's the mainstream for you. And so he was given some medication to help him with his depression and anxiety. That medication had some horrible side effects that put him in a lot of pain. They went to a couple of doctors that misdiagnosed them, and when they did come up with what they felt was the right diagnosis, they couldn't find a doctor in the US or Canada that would properly help Dr. Jordan Peterson or Mikhaila's father. And so they ended up going to a clinic or a hospital in Russia that cured him, that made him better. But you know, it's Russia, so dun dun dun. And so Dr. Jordan Peterson and Mikhaila have talked about this at length. They have done multiple podcasts. Dr. Jordan Peterson has talked about this on his own podcast, and at this point in his life and his journey, he just kind of wants to move on. They told this story because the side effects of these drugs are not well known, even though they're not rare. A lot of people suffer from this, and they get misdiagnosed, and they end up dying, they end up committing suicide, and they just wanted to like inform people, if you're going through this, this is probably what you're going through, and you need to be advocates and stand up for yourself and get the right medical care. That is the purpose of them telling a story, they could have easily just not told the story. They could have easily just made something up. But I commend them for being honest and being transparent with their audience, right? But at this point, he just want to move on. He wants to go back to being the Dr. Jordan Peterson that we all know and love. He wants to continue doing his podcast, write his books, do talking and speeches and tours and interviews and stuff like that. And I think in this day and age, Dr. Jordan Peterson's voice and knowledge is much needed, but at the same time, I definitely want him to take care of himself. Okay. So where all the shit, like the dumpster trash or the dumpster fire started, is because the Times contacted Dr. Jordan Peterson and Mikhaila Peterson's daughter. I keep thinking Malika was Mikhaila, with a very like deceitful email, in my opinion. And you can go watch her podcast and she will show you the email, which basically they came at them as if like, look, we're not here to attack you, we're not trying to get rage bait or gotchas or anything like that. We really want to tell the full story and want to get your side, and so there's no misinformation out there. And also I believe their manager, their agent, also recommended them to do this interview. And so because of the email seemed genuine, they decided to do the interview, but the interview ended up being exactly the opposite of what they said in the email that the interview would be, which just makes you once again realize that journalists are just nothing but vultures. They're like the insurance ambulance chasers. They don't give a crap that you're a human being. They just want to get the story, and they just want to fill up or their agenda and cater to whatever audience that is reading their magazine or their paper. And so what the interview ended up being consisted of is the journalist basically taking a lot of things out of context, sort of taking parts of what they said but not telling the whole context of why they said it, or taking something that was said and trying to put a different tone on it so it sounds like something that it's not. They basically try to paint Mikhaila as this controlling person that was controlling her ailing elderly father or something like that. Talked about her looks, saying that she used to look like a normal girl and now she looks like a Barbie doll. They compared Dr. Jordan Peterson to Donald Trump, which is of course because Donald Trump is today's Hitler for some reason, even though he killed absolutely no one. But they treat him like he is, and if you want to discredit anyone, all you have to do is compare them to Donald Trump. There was absolutely no reason to put Donald Trump's name in that article whatsoever. It was completely out of the blue. It was completely it was really served no purpose but to try to sway the readers who was reading the book to not want to take anything Dr. Jordan Peterson is saying is serious, which is basically be accountable, be self-sufficient, be self-reliant, be a good citizen. Don't know why those words are so dangerous to people, but we can take a gander. Basically saying that Dr. Jordan Peterson, the fact that he, had to take this medication just was basically, proof that he lives in toxic masculinity, because he kind of leaned to the old stereotypes that men must be strong. And I don't know why that's a horrible thing of men being strong and being a protector of their family, and somebody has to be strong. Like, if the whole family is falling apart and everyone's sick, someone has to be strong in that family. And of course that fell on Dr. Jordan Peterson. And not to say as a man you're not supposed to take care of yourself and get the help that you need, but I don't really know how being the backbone of your family makes that toxic masculinity. But that's kind of how they tried to wrap it up. It was really sad, and it reminds me of when I had a domestic violence situation with an ex-boyfriend who beat the crap out of me. And I am not just trying to disparage police. I think majority of cops are good, upstanding citizens and brave men and women of our country. But there are some shitty cops, and especially where I used to live in Long Beach, the cops had a reputation of being racist. I had a white boyfriend, and I was in a hospital and realized the cops weren't even asking me any questions. And I basically kind of asked, is someone going to take my statement? And when they tell you have the right to be silent, take full advantage of being silent. I basically told them what happened, and I was completely transparent and honest with them. I basically said everything that happened, and even stuff that happened. I admit it when I cursed him out. I admit it when I yelled or raised my voice or something like that. They wrote, when I went to the police station and got that report, because I wanted to see what was in the report, they literally wrote nothing about what I said he did, and wrote only what I said I did. So it painted the picture as if I was the aggressor. Basically, that's basically what this reporter did. She just took everything out of context or put a different tone to it, a different spin to it. I watched Mikhaila's podcast about her response to this, and I completely agree with her when she said it basically just makes you lose faith in humanity. When it's almost like you try to like you as an adult, of course you're not a child anymore, but like some part of you want to hold on to that innocence of like people are good, but when people reveal the psychopathic nature of human beings, that ugly, disgusting vileness of a human being's nature, it's hard to see, and it's hard to be aware of that because you can't close your eyes again. You can't just forget that it exists. And so it's hard to like continue moving through life optimistic and half glass full and have trust in people because you've seen the ugliness of human beings. And I agree with that. Like this reporter, it was absolutely disgusting. This family had been dragged through the mud long before they got sick, long before the cancer, long before Dr. Jordan Peterson got sick. You know, they even implied that Mikhaila was faking her illness, which is utterly ridiculous. She could have lost her mother. She could have lost her father. She could have lost two of the most important people in her life. This family went through so much, and for this reporter to think that it was appropriate to just go ahead and dig in there a little bit further, for what? What has he done? What has he done to deserve any of this? Again, stand up for the freedom of speech and tell people to be self-reliant? What has he done to deserve this type of treatment? If this was my father, I mean, she did say that she didn't take it well in the beginning, but she's definitely, you know, when she did the podcast, was holding herself together. This is my dad. Oh my God. I hope they sue. She said that she will see if she's gonna sue because she's gonna speak to a lawyer. I understand not wanting to sue. My mother, my biological mother, actually stole $60,000 from me when I was a teenager. I got hit by a car when I was 11. It was put into a trust and somehow she got it. I do remember her having me sign something when I was a teenager, but I didn't know what it was, and I think that's what I was signing, and she stole $60,000 from me. I went to a lawyer. I was told that I could sue, but I was told it would be a long and lengthy process and there was no guarantee I would get the money, but I could sue. I was encouraged to sue, and I decided to let it go because I wanted to let that part of my life go. And so I understand wanting to just move on, but man, these people need to be made example of. I 100% agree that like a lot of people are coming to the conclusion of that the mainstream media is a cancer on our society. The mainstream media is a cancer on a society and on this world because it's spreading like wildfire. I travel to multiple countries and I see it in other countries as well. And the sad thing is that multiple outlets, multiple reputable news outlets literally copy and pasted that same exact story verbatim without reaching out to Dr. Jordan Peterson or Mikhaila for a response or for rebuttal or for correction or anything. They didn't do any of their own reporting, any of their own investigating, any of their own research whatsoever, which is just what journalism is now. They just sit in their own little bubbles and they just copy and paste each other's story. They're not actual journalists. Most of all, they're activists, lazy, incompetent, stupid, low IQ people who just want to cater to the tribe that they're in. And it's really sad. I definitely believe that we need freedom of speech in our country. We need free journalism in our country. But I don't know. It has to be, there has to be a way to hold these people accountable. There are too many legal loopholes that they can go through from posting lies. Like just posting a correction at the end of the article, or posting a correction a week later when the story has already gone out and gone viral. There's too many loopholes for them to go through that they can get away with this. And again, I don't want too many regulations on our journalists, of course, but it has to be a way to keep these people accountable. And I guess maybe it just has to be the public. I don't know if they come out and apologize or had a retraction yet. If they haven't, then shame on them. But I understand the will of the want and the desire just to walk away from this, because I'm pretty sure it's been really hard on them, especially on Dr. Jordan Peterson, because he is still vulnerable. And so, but boy, would I love if they did sue. And selfishly, I just would love if they sued the crap out of them to the point of bankruptcy, seriously. Anyway, that is just my take on the story. Please please go watch her podcast. Dr. Joy Peterson and Mikhaila has the full interview on their channel. We can listen to the full interview that's unedited. Just go show them love and go show them support. That we know that it's BS, and on all honesty, this reporter and these reporters and these outlets have just embarrassed themselves even further and just reaffirmed in what we all kind of know at this point in time, is that mainstream news is absolute trash. They can't even get the weather right half the time. Yeah, that's it, guys. Tell me what you think about this story. Please comment in the comment section. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps with the algorithm. And that's it, guys. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.